Hi, good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. William L. Johnson III here with our morning meditation. Every week, we offer these messages that we hope will bring inspiration and encouragement for you and for many along the way. Our lives are filled with all kinds of twists and turns, and it's pretty good and it's helpful. We've found to have someone in your cheering squad on the sideline reminding you that you can make it through it and everything will eventually work out the way they should. Well, these messages may not detail how all things will work out, but we hope that they will be encouragement to you as you're journeying through your week and through your day, and hopefully through life. As you find yourself coming to many landmarks, many moments that are watershed for your life, many important decisions that you may have to face, we hope these messages will encourage you as you journey on. Well, today's morning meditation is entitled, a strange title, but here's the title: Between If and Then. Between If and Then. As I contemplated and thought about what to share with you today, there's some things that came to mind, and I thought deeply about this bigger question about who's to blame about and who's responsible when we find ourselves meeting with challenges where in which things don't turn out the way in which we would want them to. It is not a new thing, but it is as ancient as humanity and being here on the earth that we find ourselves wanting things, desiring things, and finding out that those things may not pan out the way we would like. And so we take moments to reflect on how we feel about those moments and what to do about those moments. Howard Thurman wrote this and reminded us of this dilemma. He said, the desire to be oneself is ever persistent. Equally persistent is the tendency to locate the responsibility for failure to be one's true self in events, persons, and conditions, all of which are outside and beyond oneself. Sounds deep, doesn't it? In other words, often a person says, I would be this kind of person and I desire to be that kind of person if. And so the question I ask of you and for me, how many times have we rehearsed that and found ourselves creating that sentence in our lives? I would have done this if these things would have happened. I would have gone to school if. I would have made it if. I would have experienced this if. I would be happier if. And we can add a ton of things to it. If I had more money, if I had the right education, if I was born in that neighborhood or in that community, or if I was a part of this family, or if my parents had never separated or broke up, or if we would have kept the family unit together, if I was stayed with my ex, or if I had not had the children when I did, or if I would have had the children when I did, all the questions that we ask of ourselves about if. If I had done these things, I could have been there. If I had gone here or did this or refrained from doing other things, what would my life have been like? I mean, there are a multitude of reasons that we assign to those ifs, and those ifs are okay to have. Let me say that parenthetically. I am not one of those haters that says you should never go through life talking about if. If declares that we had an imagination. If says that we are recognizing that we had choices in life. If says that and reminds us that no matter what has happened, we still have the ability to imagine a different outcome, even though we may be sitting in the very thing we wish we could turn and change. However, in these moments of if we only live in if, then we never get to the place where we get to the then. In other words, my family, my parents, my mother, and my father would often listen and hear me out in my complaints about things that didn't seem to be fair or were not in order or seemed out of the way. But they challenged me to be able to recognize what is happening in those moments. It's good that I recognize the if, what I could have done, but they challenged me with a then. If that has happened, then what are you going to do about it? If your friends have turned away from you, then what are you going to do about it? If people have counted you out, then what are you going to do about it? If your job doesn't feel fulfilling, then what are you going to do about it? If your relationship does not satisfy you or you are feeling disappointed, then what are you going to do about it? In other words, whenever there is an if, there should always be a then. Now, we may not know all the details about what the then will be, but what we do know is that it's required to have a then. A then marks our response to life. We are not able, my friends, to be able to dictate how life will turn or what twist will come or what challenges may come or what heartbreak may be. But we do have the ability to respond in a way that makes sense for our lives and for those around us. So let me share this. It's important to not only live in your if moment, but you ought to always be thinking about your then. I am amazed at the way stories line our lives and how you might discover that you have no understanding of what to do after you've been devastated or after you've been in a precarious position that you didn't ask for. It's hard to come up with the then when you're in the middle of the fight of your life. So let me help us all take a break and a deep breath to say you don't always have to know what the then will be. You don't always have to be on top of the world. You don't always have to be super human or beyond reproach. You don't always even have to be proactive in all the things that have happened in your life. None of us can expect tragedy. None of us know when the twist will turn in the road. None of us are aware fully that life will switch up on us like a pancake in a pancake shop. What we do know, however, is that in the middle of those moments, there will always become a then. What do you do if the doctor says you have a debilitating disease? What do you do if your family members pass away and they're no longer there with you? What do you do if your job seems to take a different direction? What do you do when you run out of money? What do you do when you run out of friends? What do you do when you run out of patience? Then, for some of us, we've learned to pray. We've learned to call on friends. We've learned to trust God. What I love about this message today, it is a reminder to us that there's something that we can do with the ifs in our lives. Let me share with you the words of Rudyard Kipling, and it's one of my favorite poems that I think, really great to read if you have not read it. He has a couple of stanzas here, and I'm going to read all three of them or four of them if you will allow. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all people doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet the triumphs and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginning and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn along after they are gone, And so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings or queens, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all people count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that is in it. And which is more, you'll be a man or a woman, my daughter or my son. I love this poem. I changed the words a little bit to make it more inclusive. But what I wanted to remind you is that even if you can do these things, if comes to mind, then you can get to this point. If you can do these things, then you can move to the next. The ifs in our lives often come, and they challenge us day and night, often in ways in which we never thought we would. I was just on a call the other evening, and I was challenged by the news we'd heard of one of the churches in our denominational connection that was burned, and there was a fatality in that fire. And what it proved to me is that the tragedy did exist. There's no way to get around it. The church was devastated and destroyed, and the loss of life would never be able to come back to us. But what we learned is that in the midst of these moments, we learned how to love each other better. We learned how to fortify our friendships. We learned how to form our faith. We learned how to develop the ability to fight, not each other, but fight for love and the future. So that's what I say to you in between your if and your then. Let your faith be formed. Learn how to believe again when you are in between your if and your then. Let your friendships be, uh, one of those things that is formed in a stronger way. In other words, let it be fortified. Let your friendships grow closer. The people who are with you, you'll know that in between your if and your then. And then fight for your future in between your if and your then. The wonderful thing about Howard Thurman's words and Kipling's words is a reminder that there is some responsibility we have to change how we view and how we respond to the ifs in our lives. If you're going to be a success, you got to fight for your future. If you're going to have a family, you got to fight for the future of your family. If you're going to be able to have joy and peace and to be happy in life, it doesn't just happen. You have to fight for your future. You do it with good, fortified friends, and you do it with a faith that is formed in the crucible of that challenge. So someone would say it this way, and I am reminded that it is important to note this, that sometimes in the trying times of our lives, we discover who we are, who the people around us are, but most importantly, who God is. Well, that's our morning meditation. We want to invite you and remind you to stay tuned to us. We're going to share these messages and give us some feedback if you would like to. William.johnson@bjc.org is my email. You can send it to me there. But I would like to hear from you to know kind of how you've been thinking about it. I'll repeat, william.johnson@bjc.org. Have a great week. Have a great day. Have a great life. We want you to know you're loved, you're appreciated, and you're irreplaceable. Have a great one. Bye bye.